Welcome back to Norman Nerddom, everybody. I am Red Strider, and today, having freshly gotten back from the Dallas meetup, the Rippaverse and the FNT crowd, you can see from my shirt here, Yaira number one. Yaira number one. What a hell of a debut. Absolutely, you can see I got signed by Eric and the Saskas, not to brag or anything. But I had a lot of fun with this book. I really did. I'm going to try to keep it spoiler-free from the beginning, as I always do. I'm going to just kind of talk in very general terms, and then I'm going to give you a fair warning, and then I'm going to go into spoilers, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I really liked the book. I did. I still, so far, the best one in my opinion, or at least, not the best one. My personal favorite is still Alpha Core, but Yaira number one, man, hell of a debut. There is a lot that happens in this book. It is dense, and I'm pretty sure it's the longest one he's done. I'm pretty sure it's the longest book that Rippaverse has featured. It's hard because the page numbers aren't on there, so I can't know for sure. But there's a lot here. There's a lot here. We'll get into it in the spoiler section. I promise. I'm not going to give away too many spoilers, but there are some things I do need to bring up, both praises and criticisms that I think we need to. I need to discuss without being shackled to non-spoilers, unlike some certain Rippaverse detractors that show up where they're not wanted. Wink, wink. Okay, so first impressions. The art got the job done. I will say that. It's not anything that I really haven't seen before. It's not particularly groundbreaking. It won't blow your mind, but it's not bad. It's not bad art. Yeah, everything that happens in it. I mean, you can see it. You can tell pretty clearly the direction of it was actually pretty great. There's not a whole lot of confusion here as far as who's being punched and when, or who is flying where and when, or which character is on the panel, or who is maybe off in the distance. So the art was pretty good. The coloring is actually pretty great. There's a lot of lots of really amazing settings that I think you'll really enjoy. The elements play a very large role here. Lots of nature coming into play. Lots of very vivid blues and silvers and whites, because Yaira's powers are flight and ice, and she's also incredibly strong. She's also incredibly vulnerable to fire, and that comes into play a little bit later. More on in the spoiler section. That's not a spoiler. I think you can probably guess that a superhero with their superpowers being ice is probably immune to excessive heat and fire. So that's not really a spoiler. It was jam-packed with action. There is not a wasted panel here. So pretty much nearly every page has, oh my goodness, probably like 7, 8, 9 different sub-panels within it. If I'm using that term right, I don't know. I'm not really a comic book nerd, so I don't know the official titles. But I mean, there's smaller panels all packed into one big page. There's not maybe like 3, 4, 5, 9 or so. It's typical. But there's a lot here, and the action that they fill up in those panels is actually pretty great. It's like, and don't take this the wrong way, it's almost like a Zack Snyder film, where there's maybe some different vignettes that are taking place within, like for instance, the end of Man of Steel. There are lots of little vignettes that are taking place within this larger campaign, and it works. It works. I think we have a lot. We have a lot of plot to get through. We have a lot of story, and again, I will keep it as spoiler-free as humanly possible. But there's a lot here, because Yaira is facing a war on multiple fronts. A lot of her consequences are coming back to haunt her, and she's having to fight off people from her past and present who also could be her future. Again, spoilers. I'm trying to get through this. but yeah, I really enjoyed all the action, especially all the different converging storylines were actually quite interesting. And she encounters some familiar faces that I think will be fun to see later on down the line. Yaira is not a Mary Sue. Okay, she is not a Mary Sue, because one of the chief features of a Mary Sue is someone who is endlessly strong, having not earned it, having had usually no explanation for it. So one of the best examples, of course, is Rey from the Disney Star Wars sequels, and also Miguel Galadriel from Rings of Power, who can somehow overpower 6 men in full armor and swords just by her own little waify self, and she is standing like at least 2 feet shorter than they are, and she's doing all this stuff, and she is smug as all hell. But that's usually what Mary Sues are. They are smug as all hell. They cannot be taught anything. They're automatically perfect at everything, and everybody likes them. Yaira is not that. Yaira is not that. She is liked by some people and disliked by a lot, and most everybody in this book hates her. Most everybody in this book does not like her. Again, she is fighting a war on multiple fronts across multiple different battlefields, and different individuals who have a different beef to pick with her based on different things that she's done in the past. Man, if ever I've got a lot going on right now was a thing, it would be Yaira. Good grief. But more than that, she is a very strong character. She's kind of a smartass. Not she kind of a smartass. She is a smartass. She's also a little bit smug. However, the biggest thing about a Mary Sue, the Mary Sue is not hurt with anything. Because you think about Galadriel, she's good at everything. You think about Captain Marvel, good at everything. Yeah, she gets punched maybe a few times, but you can just shrug it off and it's no big deal. No, Yaira gets her ass handed to her by this guy too. And he's one of half a dozen people in here who want a piece of this woman. She gets destroyed. She absolutely gets wrecked, and she makes really stupid decisions. She is a flawed character. She's not going to be, she ain't no Wonder Woman. She ain't no Wonder Woman. She is, it's hard to describe because I can't really think of any hero at the top of my head. Kind of like Wolverine. A little less noble Wolverine, because Wolverine is, for the most part, he's kind of on his own, but he is still loyal to the X-Men. He's still, even though he clashes with Scott Summers quite a bit, he's still loyal to the X-Men, loyal to the mission. He may blow up every once in a while, but at his heart, he's a pretty good guy. Yaira's been through some stuff. Yaira has certainly been through some stuff, and her rage and her anger and her frustration, irritation, they blind her quite a bit. She makes some dumb decisions. And again, I'm not gonna go into complete spoilers. However, at the end, she does redeem herself. But most of all, Yaira is drawn and treated as a woman. And I know people are going to accuse Eric July of being like the classic SJW liberal, only hiring women to work on a book. That's really stupid. That's a really stupid criticism to have, because if you want someone to kick off your first female-centered hero of the Rippaverse and write her in a way that's believable as a woman, you want women on board. You want women on board. And this book is pretty brutal. I will say it's not like bloody violent like some of the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but man, it's kind of brutal. It's like watching. It's not Saving Private Ryan brutal. It's not The Crow brutal. It's more Dune Part 2 brutal, where the violence itself is not necessarily bloody, but there are some effects that occur. There are some effects that are incurred upon the characters that's kind of like makes you cringe a little bit. Again, this book is suitable for teenagers. I wouldn't necessarily call it suitable for kids, because this ain't a spoiler, but there is some nudity in there. Okay, so I'm hearing the cries of the detractors saying that, I'm already hearing the cries of the detractors going on and on and on about either Yaira is going to be like a thirst trap, or she's going to be Mary Sue. Pick one, because you can't have both. Because then again, Mary Sues are largely sexless. Yaira is not. However, the nudity is not sexual. It's not sexual. It's incidental. It's not exploitative. It's not titillating, even though she is drawn quite perfectly, because this woman has a very perfect body. But you will find out why when I get to the spoiler part. She ain't no Mary Sue. She ain't no Mary Sue. I did not warm up to her as much as I did the rest of the Alpha Corps. And again, my favorite book so far is with Alpha Corps and Eric July. The sooner you release Norfolk #1, I will be a happy camper. I will sing your praises. I will lick your boots. Please. Just kidding. But seriously, I told him that at the Dallas meetup. I said, Alpha Corps when, dude? He's like, soon enough, man, soon enough. It's like, okay, I'm ready. Because I love those team-ups. I love the team-ups. I love the dynamic between the characters, because it gives the writer a chance to, flex their muscles. Yaira is not part of a team. She's an individual. She is her own person, and that's a problem. That's a good thing, and that's also a problem, because she finds herself with an abundance of enemies and and a lack of friends and allies. So it gets her into trouble. But we're going to begin. We're going to go into that with the spoiler section. But I think you're really going to like her as a character. Again, overall, I think she's going to work as a good female linchpin to the Rippaverse. She does show signs of humanity. She does show signs of warmth and kindness and compassion. Because even though she is a superhero, she has powers, she has ice powers, there is a warmer side to her. And there's this, I don't know if this is on purpose, I mean, it probably is, it's the Sasuke's for Pete's sake. There is a juxtaposition between fire and ice and warmth and cold in many different aspects. And I think, and of course, I do believe that was on purpose. And it works for this book. It works for this book, because again, she is the Ice Queen. The subtitle is The Chilling First Issue. I mean, come on, you can't play around with the elements and not deal with the opposite. It's just that's just bad writing if you don't. So the Sasuke's did justice to that theme. So I do want to point out this villain design. This dude is terrifying. His name is Magus Numite. Not a spoiler. It's on the front. Come on, Magus Numite or Magus Numite. I don't know, but he's terrifying. So this is a pretty scary villain. He's like an Ultron shape-shifting insect, very alien, but also like a mosquito. And I can kind of see maybe he's almost shaped like a wasp with a human face. And it's pretty gross. It's pretty gross. You can see up here, there's a face that splits open to reveal this very insectoid humanoid skull, and it's pretty nasty. You can definitely, and so the Sasuke sisters are writers of horror primarily. They write horror, and then they also direct and write horror films. And there's a lot of horror allusions in here as well. They made it kind of brutal. They made it really brutal, and this is it's actually pretty terrifying because this guy is creepy as hell, like I said, but he's a formidable foe, one of many for Yaira. So the last thing I'll say before it gets to spoilers is that, remember when I said that there's a juxtaposition of fire and ice? Yeah, I told the Sasuke sisters my favorite part because they asked me, what is your favorite part of Yaira? And I said, the end. When NDA happens, they're like, oh yeah, that was so much fun to write. And I was like, yeah, and I see what you did there. I see what you did at the end where that thing happens and it's a payoff to some of her, it's a payoff to her past, and it's pretty fun. And they're like, oh, absolutely, we love doing it. We love this book, and we can't wait for Yaira number 2. I was like, I can't either. Well done. They're also doing Bloodruth, by the way. If you don't remember who Bloodruth is, and I saw number 2, she's basically a cross between Solomon Kane, the Shadow, and a Bloodbender from Avatar. Okay, but all in all, I give this book a solid 8 out of 10. Solid 8 out of 10. Alpha Core for me was a 9 out of 10. This is pretty good. It's pretty good. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. There are some criticisms that keep me from giving it to 9 or 10 out of 10, and we'll get to them in just a second. But I definitely recommend you buy it. I definitely recommend you pick it up. You will not be bored at all. There is a lot here to enjoy. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of diverse environments for people to fight in, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, so now I'm going to get to spoilers. So if you don't want to watch any further, feel free to click away. Or if you do want to keep watching, here's your warning. All right, so spoilers. Oh, man. So remember when I mentioned she is not a Mary Sue. So one of the key components of a Mary Sue is to be sexless, is to have no relationships, no marriage, no family. She don't need no man. The epitome of a Mary Sue is to be completely independent to such an extent that she is unreachable. The problem is when you get to that point, of someone being unreachable, you can't relate to them. That's what Mary Sues are, but Mary Sues do it on purpose. She's meant to be this strong female woman who don't need no man, don't need anyone else around her. Well, that's just dumb. Because that's not how human beings work. Human beings need help. Human beings are actually pretty good at some things and also not good at other things, and that's why we need other people to fill in the blanks. Yaira is definitely that. She has screwed up a lot. She has made a lot of mistakes. There's one mistake. Something that we're not really told. It's definitely implied, and it's gonna come later. Remember, Eric July never promised to hold our hands, so there's gonna be some mystery sprinkled about here that he's gonna have us asking what the deal is. and he answers some question. They answer some questions somewhat, but he also doesn't in others. So we actually don't even know where Yaira's from. It is clear as day that she is an alien, and in fact we see her insides. Remember what I mentioned, the Sasuke's their horror background? Yeah, we see the inside of her chest cavity. It's pretty gross. But you can tell like the art. You can tell the artist was having a lot of fun with it because blah blah. But also her anatomy being different is exactly. And I know people are gonna criticize this. I'm calling it right now, but I will bet money on this in Vegas, and I will win a bunch of. And I will win 10 times what I put in. So she takes a beam to the torso, like some kind of energy beam to the torso. I want to call it like a lightning strike or something. It goes right through her, and like right through her chest. And so I'm wondering, how in the hell is she not dead? Well, you see why. Her chest cavity is largely open. There's not a whole lot of organs contained where she got hit, and so that's why she's able to survive. But again, remember when I said the fire and ice is included here as well? So Yaira again is incredibly vulnerable to fire, and she has been brought, that it's shown, the results of which are shown in the book, and it's kind of horror. It's just like, ugh, oh man, that's horrible to think about, being burned to such an extent. But it's a good payoff. It's a good payoff, and I think it works. So Alpha Corps is in this. They're the superhero police force. So Yaira is a rogue. She very much is a rogue. She is a little bit. She's like a little bit more recalcitrant Wolverine. So she is again on her own, but that also comes back to bite her, because the other thing about Mary Sue's is that they don't suffer consequences for their actions. The realistic ramifications of people's choices do not come back to bite her, Mary Sue. But for Yaira, they definitely do. People die when they're not supposed. People die that she's trying to protect because she's being stubborn and playing things very close to the chest and not getting help she needs because she's trying to keep herself free, which ends up being a mistake. Someone that she loves very dearly ends up dead, and it's quite sad because we see that she is this person's benefactor and someone who she's pretty close with, probably her only human connection. So this woman, in probably many years, then you find out why. So Yaira's an alien. Yaira is definitely an alien. The people that she fights their names are Yanessa, Yantoni, and Magus Numite. So the Magus Numite is the creepy waspy wizard dude. And Yanessa and Yantoni, I don't really know who they are. So the reason they come down to Earth, or to Flores Park, Texas, is to track down Yaira. So Yaira has committed a very grave sin. Not really sure what that is. Probably abandoning her people. I think is about as deep as I remember them getting. However, she is not at all willing to go near them. She's not willing at all to go with them and face face the consequences of her crimes. Because you find out that she's been here on Earth for a very, very long time. A very long time. There were Vikings when she was around. And again, that is a minor spoiler, but I'm not going to go into that plot. I'm not going to go into that plot because I think that's probably far more interesting. But the Sasuke's kind of gave that away a little bit because they didn't really give it away. But they went into an NDA. I think went into NDA mode when someone asked about maybe Yaira's connection to Norse mythology. And it also makes far more sense why a Canadian actress in the Yaira, live action trailer, why a Canadian actress was taking on this very interesting, I might say strange, I guess Icelandic accent. Now you know why. And that kind of gave it away. That was a fun little breadcrumb for them to leave for us. So I really appreciated that. Again, Eric said he would not hold our hands when it came to giving us a little bit of stuff with character. So I'm okay with that. Okay, so criticisms of the book. It's tough. It's tough because I'm not sure what to criticize. I'm not sure what to criticize fairly because, again, there is a lot of unanswered questions, but they're not supposed to be answered. So I'm gonna hold off on criticize. I'm gonna hold off on my critiques of the plot just a little bit because there's not because Yaira faces a bunch of different consequences of her actions. She is trying to save people. She's trying to avoid being detained by Alpha Core. She's also trying to avoid being detained by, Yanessa, Yantoni, Magus Numite, who are clearly from whatever planet she came from, or whatever region of space that she fell from. She is also trying to protect people that are very near and dear to her. I will not give that spoiler away. But I don't really know what her crime is, because the Alpha Core goes after her for a crime. They mention a crime. They say repeatedly, you must answer for your crimes, but we don't know what it is. The same thing with the planet that she fell from. So obviously we can assume that when she fell to Earth, that she was given an assignment that she failed to do here on Earth. My guess is that it's almost like a Dragon Ball Z Saiyan Vegeta thing, where the Saiyans are meant to drop down to Earth, drop down to a planet and eradicate all life. And when they don't, they're pursued. And when they don't, they are not allowed. When they fail to do so, they are detained or killed or sent back to the planet Vegeta. I think I'm getting those details right. I just watched the show for the first time. So we don't really know what these crimes that she is committing. I'm guessing that she was supposed. That's my theory. I'm guessing that she came from whatever planet, whatever region of space she's supposed to inhabit. She came down to Earth, did not fulfill a mission that she was supposed to have, and she fell in love with human beings and lived among them for a long time, and then resurfaced sometime between whenever that period was. Remember, I mentioned Vikings, and now. Because Alpha Core also mentions that she has committed some crimes that she needs to answer for. Again, I don't really know what that is, because remember at the beginning of ISOM 1, whenever she collides with Avery midair, and then that's probably my favorite part of ISOM, where if anyone wants to ask, Avery falls from a great height onto a car and makes a remark about like I can't fly, I can't, this is gonna hurt. So the Alpha Core is in pursuit of her before she even runs into Avery, and I still don't know why. And I'm not going to criticize that, because I'm sure Eric and the Saskas are going to bring that up on ISOM. Probably ISOM, maybe ISOM 3 or Yaira 2. I don't know, but they will definitely answer it, because again, Eric has promised us, and I believe him. Eric has promised us that he's going to remain consistent, and he's going to keep track of these little details, and he's going to have setups and payoffs, and they're going to be there. Now, he didn't promise that they'd be satisfactory, but hey, at least they're paying off. At least we're getting answers. We will just have to see. So I will say that I do have a criticism of the pacing of the book. Like, remember when I said at the beginning, there is a lot here? There is a lot here. There is a ton, and it's almost a little relentless. It goes by lightning fast. It really does. There's just a lot of action. And there are a few times when Yaira is thinking back to her past and thinking back to the people that she cared about whenever she first came to Earth, and why she decided to settle down with them and create a new life here on Earth, when instead of doing whatever she did up in her planet, or not doing whatever she was supposed to. Again, we don't know. But the whole thing goes by lightning fast. There are a few points where the action stops, and we're left for characters to have conversations. But those points are very short. They are very short. They are there. They're there to discuss. They're there to kind of discuss the fight that Yaira just escaped. Yaira just spends the whole time running. She does succeed. She does triumph at the end. But for the most part, she's just running. She's running and running and running and running and running. And so whenever she's kind of getting her ass kicked, there is the point of respite where she and somebody else are discussing the ramifications of what just happened, and maybe planning next steps. And it helps to set up the character. It helps to set up Yaira as a character, help us to understand that she ain't no slouch. She's actually a very intelligent person, and she has actually made a friend. She has made another, and there's another woman that she is trying to protect and trying to bring under her protection, but this woman is refusing, even though she desperately needs it. And if you've watched the Yaira live action trailer, you know who that person is. Well, we don't really know. You don't really know who she is, but you know that it's that person. So it goes by very, very quickly, and there were a few points where I was disappointed with some of the dialogue. To be clear, I'm used to the Frank Millers of the world, the Alan Moores, and even like Razorfist. I'm used to that kind of dialogue and that kind of writing. There is not a whole lot of dialogue. There is some dialogue, but between Yaira and the people that matter the most in her past, she has the most connections, the most interesting interactions between the members of Alpha Corps. That's actually kind of fun. The rivalry between Ingrid Valdez and Yaira is pretty fun to see. They're kind of button heads, and then she has almost like a Catwoman Batman relationship with Brian Solari. She is very much flirting with him and trying to use her sexuality as a weapon, which is something that a Mary Sue would never do, by the way. But Brian is like not having it. He's not necessarily fighting it either, and there's some tension there. I think that they could. I think Eric July and the Saskias are going to kind of do something with that later on. But much of the dialogue between her and Magus Numai, Yanessa, and Yantoni, the main antagonists from her planet, they don't have a whole lot of conversations. There's a lot of declarations about what they're going to do to each other. They're going to eradicate each other. They're going to destroy each other, and how much they talk very openly about how much they hate each other, but we don't know why. And I think that was kind of a missed opportunity. And there's probably allusions to things in here that I missed, but I want to know where these people came from. I want to know where. I don't necessarily have to know all the details of it, but I want to know why she's here and what law she broke. What did she do? Apparently, she betrayed her people. She betrayed her queen. Betrayed her rulers. How exactly? Don't know. And you won't know by the end, unfortunately. You probably, and I don't know if we'll know for a little bit, because I mean, major spoiler: the people that come after her all end up dead. The people that come after her that are her own kind all end up dead. And we don't get answers. You know, I think it will definitely bring down some. Well, it's not unforeseen consequences. It is definitely foreseen consequences. Yaira knows full well that her actions that day, she blows them up with fire. It's pretty great, actually, at great cost to herself, and she barely survives. Not really a spoiler. We're getting Yaira number 2, but she barely survives in a very self-sacrificial moment, which I really loved, and it was a payoff to her. Payoff to her time with the Vikings. Okay, that's as far as I'm going. That's as far as I'm going with that spoiler. But we don't know where they came from or why they're here, and I wish that we would. I wish that we would have gotten a little bit more details about that, because again, there's so much that they should have been saying to each other, but they weren't. And I think the Saskias were playing it a little too close to the chest. I think they were trying to maintain the mystery, but we need something to grab onto, and we need to know somewhat where she came from, because we know where Goku came from. And I compare that because it's the only thing I can think of. We know where Superman came from. We know where Goku came from. We know why. Well, Goku we don't find out until Dragon Ball Z exactly his whole thing, but we know where he comes from. Same thing with Superman. We know what planet he comes from and why he's here. We needed just a little bit. Maybe some shifts over to their POV as the enemy, the antagonist POV as they're maybe coming into the atmosphere. Some little allusions to something that's going on. You can do it without giving away all of the plot, all of the components of the plot. But I wanted a little bit more of a solid payoff. But I mean, overall, I mean, Yaira number 2 is going to be a lot of fun, and Bloodruth is going to be fun too, because man, if Bloodruth has bloodbending magic, for God's sake. And she's scary as hell and is able to conjure up these weird um, these weird animal beings to do her bidding, and it's cool. I want to see that too. But that just goes to show you how diverse this entire lineup is going to be for the Rippaverse, because we have our strong man in Isom. We have our Ice Queen in Yaira. We have also our Rogue in Yaira. We also have the straight backed, maybe a little naive police force in Alpha Core. And then I cannot wait for Gooding. I cannot wait for Horseman. I cannot wait for Salvage, which I was an idiot and I did not get the Rippazine. Bonehead. But I'm really looking forward to that, and from what I've heard, everybody loves it. I think you are really going to like Yaira. That's as far as my review goes before I get into spoilers and get myself in trouble. But thanks so much for watching, y'all. I appreciate it. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any additional comments below, let me know what I missed, because I probably missed something, because I was dead tired reading this, and I was finally able to finish it because when I finally got a good night's sleep. So there's got to be stuff that I missed. There's got to be some setups and payoffs that I just completely went over my head. And if I missed them, absolutely tell me I'm an idiot. Tell me I'm a poser down in the comments. Go right ahead. But anyway, y'all, have a great night.